All right, let's do this thing on a Thursday edition. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. How you living, buddy?
I am doing very well. Happy to be here to kick off Week 11. I love Thursdays. Get a little Thursday night football. Tonight's a great one.
Yep.
Arizona and Seattle. That is going to be fun. Miss K is going to make some tacos tonight. So little tacos. We got the Kevin
Taco
Stefanski
Thursday.
show. Yeah, I love a good Taco Thursday. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
who doesn't?
there was a time I remember you said that if you could eat any country's one cuisine, it would be Mexico, to which I had great issue with. I took
Tremendous
great issue with
issue.
it, and even question your own tastes, as if somehow I knew them better than you knew them yourself.
It was a pretty stunning thing that you would have what I would call taste bud audacity to act like you were such an authority. I do think, though, that you made some very valid points about the health content of my food. If I were only to live in that cuisine, no olive oils at all.
That was a big problem. Was the lack of olive oil.
Yeah, really, and that's what really
They don't
started to
have
make
olive
me
oil in
think.
Mexico?
It started to make me rethink and say, you know
That
what?
made you rethink it. Yeah.
Maybe your
I really like
audacity was
olive
very
oil.
well placed. Maybe you were onto something there.
That's one of the most remarkable. There, you think they would thrive? Why wouldn't olives thrive in Mexico?
That's a good question, but I mean, it's not the Mediterranean climate down there. I think that's.
No, but there are obviously there are mountains. There are more arid parts of Mexico that you think you could find some place where there was a mix of both, cool enough that it would thrive, and also not too hot where they would go away. But apparently not.
No,
Or
apparently
maybe they just like cooking in lard.
Some things have their right, which is a big, that was the thing that got me. That's what ended up saying. You know what, Beau? You
really
were right.
overwhelming.
You were right.
You were right. I think you had that right. I think
you did.
Really, a Mediterranean is what you need.
That's right.
All right, lots to get to on the program today. Let's kick it off with the OBM Hot Topics, Ohio Business Machine's preferred copier provider of your Cleveland Browns. Have all the X's and O's for your office, call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. A couple of COVID updates. Long snapper Charlie Hewlett cleared to return to practice today. Conklin and Parkey, of course, remain on that list. But then, of course, the potential for Saturday on the return for both of those guys. Miles still out, and he theoretically could come back Friday as long as he continues to test negative. And let's just shed a little bit of light on that, because that was something that I was curious about. For example, the change of season, I will get, sometimes a runny nose. I'll get a little bit of some allergies happen. Those things happen. And not to the point where it would take me off of work, and certainly not to the point where I thought maybe I need to get tested for COVID, but just from the standpoint of this happens every year. So when a player feels like that in this climate, now all of a sudden you need tests to get back out of it, even if you are feeling a little under the weather. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way of it. You need to make sure that you are on, that you continue to pass your tests and you can come back. And the hope is obviously for Miles to be back. Great news from Charlie Hewlett, though, that he's back.
Huge.
I was excited, though, to see Mac Wilson maybe go out there and stiff arm Steve, give it a whirl. But I think it's much better to have somebody who has never missed a game in his career with the Browns, who is incredibly steady, reliable, did a great job long snapping in what I would call outrageous conditions at First Energy the last 2 weeks. So it is excellent to have Charlie Hewlett there and have that battery, because the kicking game, so much is timing. It's how the ball comes. It's getting there with the laces in the right spot. And so keeping that operation, which has been so successful together, is, I think, a massively important thing for the Browns. So good news there with Charlie being back in the building.
Oh, my gosh, it's critical. And I don't know if you've looked at the weather forecast for this Sunday. Less than ideal.
Yeah,
so
I don't want to talk about it. There was a time when they said it was going to be 60, and now it's 40, and it's going to be raining
60.
the entire time again. It's like, what's the deal?
Have you've been on the sidelines for a long time, and
yes.
Certainly when you decide to have the position you have, you're signing up for standing outside in the cold in December. That's part of the gig. It's understood. You get it.
Totally.
But have you ever seen a stretch like this in October, November, like we've had if this happens on Sunday and it's in the 40s and raining the whole time, have you had one like that?
A, no, this is miserable. B, normally I'm on the sideline, and while that doesn't mean that I am in between the heaters as the players are, that bubble of heat that it creates down there can extend out, and they are very kind and allow me to go, and if I need to get, 15, 20 seconds in front of the heater, to go ahead and just get blasted full force and just kind of
Right.
de-thaw the toes and the fingers. Totally able to do it. Sometimes there's even delicious hot chicken soup. There's hot chocolate. There's all kinds of stuff down there.
Oh, all these accoutrements.
I'm on my own, baby. I'm in the
You're on an island.
I'm on an island in the operational zone. And you know what's in the operational zone? Cold concrete. You know what I learned during these last 2 weeks? That if you lean on cold concrete or metal, it's freezing. Not helpful at all.
So in your old world, in these circumstances,
it
you
wasn't
go into
that
the heat
bad.
Bubble.
Totally fine.
No, because also the other thing from a player perspective, and just for the folks out there to realize, so correct me if I'm wrong, the benches are heated, right?
Yes.
They have those blowers that are like jet turbines that blow heat.
Insane amounts of heat.
Yeah. So really, that part of the only time where they're really in the elements is between the white lines. The rest of the time, it's quite comfortable. So
it's like
that's how your life
degrees.
used to be.
It's balmy.
Chicken soup, hot chocolate, all this, and now none of it.
Hand warmers.
Zero.
They got those pouches. Brad Mellon, the equipment manager of the year, so kind. Sometimes he'll give me like a pouch that I can stick my hands in with hand warmers in there. It's like paradise. Now, none of it.
Little Z on an island. It's on an island, brother.
The C's were angry, my friend, and I'm not able to be a captain alone. I need a mate.
No, you need a first mate out there, brother. So this is, yeah. Well, look, high 40s you can deal with that as long as there's no wind.
Sure.
But from a serious standpoint, guys, and we'll talk with Coach about this tonight on the Kevin Stefanski show. It's such a tricky job because you work on a game plan, you have a game plan, and you have all these things you're working on, and then all of a sudden, as you are getting closer to the game, there's things you have to say, well, we can't do that, and we can't do that, and it gets like how much of a game plan is thrown out by the time you kick, like last Sunday or the game against the Raiders. How much of what you were going to do is tossed out and you're pared down? If you think about what we did in the second half, really limited because of you just simply couldn't throw the football.
I think for us, it took out a significantly smaller portion of our playbook than it did for the Houston Texans. Significantly smaller. So that was good. And if you're looking at, for example, if it were to be similar conditions, it does not look like it's going to be windy, thank goodness, this weekend. But that would have a bigger effect, again, on the Philadelphia Eagles, who throw it, the third most in the league as a percentage of their plays. This weather, though it is fascinating, but it was one of those things, those early runs and not abandoning the run, which Kevin Stefanski wouldn't do regardless. Yeah. I look at them sometimes as investments, and they paid dividends as that game went on. Without the commitment early, wearing down that Texans defense, you don't have that success you have on that final drive.
Yeah.
And you've had big-time success running the football late in games all year because of that commitment. And so for the Browns, that is a good environment. They got beaten up by the Raiders. I think that game just kind of surprised them, got away from them, wasn't our best football. I think everybody knows that. But you went there and you handled your business against this Texans team, a team that was putting, I think in good weather where the threat of the pass existed, we would have gashed them. I know we finished with 200 yards rushing, but we worked hard for those 200 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Yeah.
It would have been easier because there were 8 guys in the box every single play. This week, again, you're going to have an opportunity. It's a very good front of the Eagles, and we'll talk about that later on in the program. But, when Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox are two of the guys in the front four, they're going to be good. And you've got to try to deal with those guys up front, the disruption that they cause. But I think for us, it didn't throw out as much, and I think it made it easier to have the resolve to say, you know what, we're running it. Yeah, we're going to run it again, and we're going to wear you down. Yeah. And then Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are both going to end up dominating and going over 100 yards. I mean, that's what's crazy. They both rushed for 100 yards.
Yeah. Joe on Monday when we were handing out game balls, and Nick got so much of the attention, but Kareem was over 100 as well, and is just such a violent runner. And for defenses to have to deal with both of those guys in one game, it's something that, in turn, when you think about their age, you think about our head coach being here a long time in this system with running backs like that, with a young offensive line that continued to grow together and kind of be similar going forward. There's a real recipe here for long-term success. Because what we're going to be playing, obviously, in a lot of games like this. as Coach likes to say, our stadium continues to be located on Lake Erie. Like there are going to be games like this going forward, and this is an offense that really thrives in that. And okay, we can't throw it, no big deal. We got 2 of the 7 best running backs in football on this team. We'll take turns, and that's what you were able to do. So you are built for that, and from a long-term perspective, the sustainability is spectacular.
It is, and we're very fortunate to have this here, and to have the group that we've got up front. And that's the thing. You got these guys up front that are going to be here. You've got a head coach that's going to be here. You got 2 young running backs. You got Kareem's locked up for a couple of years. Chubb's still on his rookie deal. It is here. It's sustainable. It is potent. And I think that we, as the season evolves, we just got to add that one wrinkle. Get those chunk plays in. You're not going to get it from Odell Beckham Jr., Kadarrell Hodge. I had an opportunity to do a community event with Kadarrell Hodge this week, and an awesome guy, awesome story. He said, I want to do more as a receiver. Here it is. Here is your chance. You have an opportunity to be the vertical threat in an offense that features a lot of vertical shot plays. Go out and make some big plays, and I think if that happens, boy, we are going to be very difficult to deal with.
Do you think that there is – I was trying to think, like, do you think because of the way that our stadium is set up, for example, could you run the offense that Arizona's running here? Would that be a smart long-term bet, even if you had that type of personnel?
No.
Because we're talking about we just witnessed it against Houston. Like, we just saw it.
Right.
There's certain types of offenses that just aren't going to work here. And I would think that we're the most – because even though it rains in Buffalo, I don't know that they have this type of – the wind swirling that we have. You've been there. I have not. Green Bay has cold. Cold's not a problem. It's wind that's a problem.
Yes.
And so really I suppose Chicago would be the other one that would be really, really tough depending on the conditions.
It would be, but I feel like the way that stadium is built and it's huge on the lakeside that almost kind of I've been there in a December game. I want to say, what was that, 3 years ago we were there in December, Gibbe? And obviously many times in preseason, but it's nothing. I've never experienced anything like we have. We are literally on the shores of Lake Erie. I mean, we are on the shores. That wind is whipping. It's nuts. And it's not like this always, but no, you would never design your team to be like the Falcons or like Arizona or like Seattle. You can't be that team. We'll never be that team unless we put in a dome, which I'm fine with the retractable roof dome here. Let's let open air when it's beautiful and then throw a dome. And I know a lot of Clevelanders are very upset with us for that take. I'm sorry. I like that style of football. That happens to be that's me.
I like it too.
I enjoy it.
I like it too. I like the economic part of it as well. Gibby, have you been to a place similar to us with the wind perspective?
I don't think so. Like I mean, maybe a couple MAC football stadiums, but nothing.
Oh, sure.
Nothing from an NFL. I mean, Green Bay. We haven't been to Green Bay in the winter, so we have no idea what that's like.
But they wouldn't have the wind. I mean, it would be cold for sure, but I don't know that they have the wind like we have.
I don't think Buffalo has the wind either because Buffalo's off the lake. It's not on the lake. You get the snow in Buffalo.
Kansas City has wind. I mean, they have to deal with that there.
We had a real windy game in Kansas City.
Yeah, Denver would have the potential.
Yeah, that one was crazy.
Denver would certainly have the potential for wind too, as well, coming off the Rockies.
Yeah, no, nothing like I've seen. I mean, maybe Chicago.
But that stadium, that what they call the spaceship portion of that, I feel like blocks a lot of the wind.
Yeah, when they redid it and screwed it up. By the way,
it's not pretty. But it's better.
I was
for
there
wind.
beforehand, and it was awful. I mean, you just felt the wind on your face. I was there for a December game, long time before they redid it, and it was really brutal. it was really brutal.
Yeah.
Again, I'm fine with the cold. I'm fine with snow.
Me too.
I'm not sure. You just spent the last 15 minutes complaining about
I don't love rain. It's the wind. And wind is not football weather. Cold, snow, rain, mud, muck, all of it. Great. Football weather, you want to play that, go for that card, that cliche. Great. Fine. I'm in. But the wind,
Yeah, wind's tough. It does limit what you can do. You can't build any team here.
Think about the other places running this offense. You've got San Francisco. You've got Minnesota. You had Denver back in the day, but they don't have the same weather issues. LA is similar. Nashville.
Yeah.
Not where we are. Now, fortunately, we are tremendous at it. And Coach Stefanski is a great play caller. We have incredible talent in the backfield. We have an incredibly talented offensive line. Bill Callahan. We have the perfect storm to be able to thrive because this offense only survives typically with the ability to run it and then hit shot plays off of it.
Right.
And we, right now, because the win certainly no shot plays, but we lost our shot play guy. That's going to be the biggest story to watch with our offense over the final 7. Can we hit some vertical passes to loosen up these defenses so that we're not facing 8-men boxes all the time?
Yeah. And that may come into may be something to pay attention to, obviously, this week if the wind doesn't blow, and certainly the week after in Jacksonville. Just what does that start to look like when the weather isn't forcing you to limit so much of what you can do? A fun one tonight out west, Arizona at Seattle. Get you a quick look ahead at that game. We'll do our matchups today, of course. We'll do our offense versus their defense and vice versa. Lots of good stuff to look forward to, including hearing from your quarterback, Baker Mayfield, off and running here on a Thursday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Injuries during your childbirth require experienced counsel. Call the lawyers at Elkin Out for clear answers to what happened during your child's birth. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO today. There are 9 teams at 6-3. 2 of them play tonight, Arizona and Seattle. Baltimore and Tennessee play this weekend as well. Indy, who does Indy play? Indy plays the Packers, although the Packers are 7-2. So there's going to be some separation and some changes this week. But to have that many teams at 6-3 is pretty wild. It speaks to one of the things, though, I think that we talked about before the start of the year, and that is the 2 best divisions in football are the AFC North and the NFC West. And so there's 6 of them right there that are 6-3 or better, are all in those divisions. And there's a chance that 3 teams from each of those divisions will make the postseason. I think it's likely in the NFC.
Definitely likely in the NFC, and it's created a league where, as you know, we often say everything is designed for everybody to go 8-8, and this year you have the Bears are 5-5, which I think might be the only true 500 team in the NFL right now, and they are. From 5-1 to 5-5, they've gone, but it's supposed to funnel everybody to 8-8. This year you've got the haves and the have-nots, period. There is no middle class in the NFL this season.
No, and I think it's even there's like these in the NFC, you think about their playoff picture and the amount of teams that could win that thing. If you get in that dance, I mean, I don't know that any team, whoever, let's say the Rams are the last team in, they're the 7. If the script goes their way, they could beat anybody.
Of course.
They can beat anybody. And the same would be true of Seattle and Arizona. It's really wild out there where it's hard to determine. I know that you lean Bucks, Packers. Those teams seem to be. I would have felt different about the Saints, but now the injury to Breeze. So that's tricky. And in the AFC, I do think there's separation between between Pittsburgh, Kansas City, and then there's all the rest of us.
Yep.
And maybe Buffalo's inching closer to that category, don't you think?
They're a very good football team, but and you could see Buffalo being able to beat, those teams as well. Again, things go their right way, but I would say the Chiefs and the Steelers have separated themselves. Period. That's it. Those are the top 2 teams in the NFL. I believe they've separated themselves from everybody. Does that mean they're a lock to have one of those teams represent the AFC? No, because I think there are a lot of good teams in the AFC, and depending on how a game goes, the Bills can be dangerous. The Ravens can still, if they get on their game script, they can still be incredibly dangerous. Yeah. The Raiders are good. The Dolphins are playing great football. There are some good teams, but it's just a crazy year. 6-3. I was looking this up, this is kind of, I think, a what I would call a fascinating thing, right? So you think about the league and you think about what things have been in the past. And so we're through 10 games. And so you think about in history, the Browns have played 9. There are some teams that have played 10 in the NFL. But here's just from a historic standpoint. So let's say the Browns win this week and go to 7-3. Okay. Historically, 84% of teams that are 7-3 make the playoffs. 52.5% of them win their divisions.
Jeez.
The Browns could be 7-3 easily and be outside of the 7 teams in the playoffs. Certainly the 6. That's based on 6. There's never been 7 before.
Yeah, true.
Which is just a crazy thing when you think about it. Now, 6-4, not as good. 59% make the playoffs. 24% win the division. If you take it ahead, a 2-game stretch from here, 7-4 is 70% to make the playoffs, 32% to win the division. 7-4.
Yeah,
but it might 7-4, and it might not be looking that great in 2 weeks from now.
I mean, you may be talking. We were talking about this yesterday. It might take 11-5 to ensure it. It may take 11-5.
That's what I think. Is that what Sessler said? He said if you want to guarantee it,
and then
11.
Yeah, that's where you got to get. I mean, you think about from there's a lot of factors to this. There's historically bad divisions, so that's a part of it. There's more teams who are embracing this idea of accumulating assets, and so higher picks. Like there are teams that are outwardly doing that, which is something the NFL's really never had to deal with much. So there's a lot of factors that lead into it, but it's a wild situation you're in. I feel like the 7 teams in the NFC right now. I don't think anything's going to change. I think the
No.
7 that are in right now are the 7. That's it. Book
Unless
it
the Saints fall off of a cliff with Jameis
with Jameis.
and the Falcons, who get them head-to-head this week, make a run.
Yeah. Which, yeah. I mean, there's a lot on Jameis.
Sure.
A lot on him.
Sure.
This week. Yeah. So that would be it. Ours is going to stay interesting for a while. You will have an opportunity to. This is how big a win is, guys. You get to that 7-3. Either Baltimore or Tennessee is going to be 6-4 because they play each other. I think it's very likely that the Raiders are 6-4 because they play the Chiefs. And Gruden did a victory lap around Arrowhead, and I'm guessing, and his entire defense is out. By the way, you saw that? Their entire defense is out.
Doesn't seem ideal.
Are they really going to play? They're going to. On the NFL, well, we're going to play. Good luck to you. I wish you luck.
Well, as you,
I mean, that's.
isn't this the one that you said was going to be a laugher anyway? Now they have an excuse.
Yeah. Yes, they do. They do have an excuse. So those teams are going to go to 6-4. Miami plays Denver, so they're very likely that they will continue to win. The Colts host the Packers. So 7-3 this week, and then you go to Jacksonville.
Probably puts you back in the mix.
You don't want to get ahead of yourself. 7-3, 8-3. You feel very, very good about where you're at that point.
8-3 historically, 92% make the playoffs, 63% win the division. Historically.
Yeah.
8-3.
Yeah. Yep. And you're talking about beating a Philly team that's having a hard time finding their way, and you're talking about beating Jacksonville. So that's what's keeping you from 8-3 right now. Go ahead.
15 teams in the NFL have six or more wins, which you were talking about. Did you know this? I just found this out from my stats courtesy
I like
of
these.
the great Hoff. That is the most such teams through 10 weeks in NFL history. So this is a unique, historic
It is unprecedented.
season. Literally.
Without precedent.
Without precedent. Unprecedented. Fun fact, 8 of those 15 teams with 6 or more wins were not in the playoffs a year ago. Since 1990, at least 4 teams every season have qualified for the playoffs after failing to make the postseason the year before. Wow.
Yeah. That's wild. That is wild.
The most. So it's historic.
Yep. It's historic. It felt like it, and we've asked a lot of people about it. Now, thanks to the copious notes from the Hoff, we know and can confirm that it is, in fact, unprecedented. This is a fun one tonight on Thursday Night Football.
It's a dream.
These are 2 teams that are just fun to watch, period, and now they play each other. And it's interesting. Everyone's crowned Kyler this week, and we're so prisoners of the moment. And he was great. He was spectacular. But if they don't connect on the Hail Mary, they've lost 2 in a row to Miami and Buffalo. Both at home. Yeah, both at home. But they connect on the Hail Mary, and now he's going to win an MVP before Russ. He's the next thing. He's now past Lamar. All of these things on it. It's a Hail Mary pass that if you just knock it down, these conversations aren't taking place. Seattle, meantime, they're done. It's over. Cooked. They're done. They can't do it. Russ is pressing all of these things. It does set up nicely for Seattle at home. I do believe that it does set up nicely for them.
It does. This is one of those, where you look at the score and everything that you've been saying when you pay attention to scores. I wouldn't have expected these scores now in this moment. And so
no, I wouldn't have either.
It's not what I expected when I went to look this up. But yet, yeah, I kind of like what they're telling me.
Yeah. Do you like the I'm trying to think, this late in the season, this feels like a Sunday night football game.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
To get a game like this on Thursday Night Football, that's pretty good.
It's really good. It's really good.
You okay there? What do you got? I feel like you're being bothered there.
No, we're not being bothered. We're just seeing a movement pattern in the building that we have never seen before today. So
a movement pattern.
Just
very interesting.
Caught me a little off guard.
I don't even know if I could find my way around that place. It's been so long.
Well, you wouldn't on our side of the building. There aren't many options for you.
I didn't know that there were even people on this side other than our video people.
Right, and we just saw a good chunk of people that are not usually participants of our side of the building. So,
very good, very good.
See, we live.
All right,
we live in West Germany. In East Germany, on the other side of the wall, they get everything. It's opposite. I call it East
it's the
Germany
opposite
and West
of
Germany. In West Germany, we really
it's the opposite.
Yeah, we have nothing. They slide us things.
I believe you
So
might
it's the
historically
opposite
have that
of the-
incorrect.
No,
It's
I
the
know. I
opposite of the
totally
way that
have it
was
incorrect.
historically.
I said it's the exact opposite of what history really is.
Yeah.
So why, when you make the analogy,
Was,
wouldn't you just
yeah.
go with the analogy
No, because
straight up?
we're on the west side of the building. It's west.
Oh, I see. He went
We're-
geographically. We're on the
west side of the building.
I see, Gibby.
Oh,
Fair. That's fair.
wow. I wasn't
See,
even thinking that way.
Geographically, we're on the west.
Gibbe, next
No?
level. Like
He's
rope off
playing
a
You
chess.
get
You're playing
nothing.
I'm like a
checkers.
rope off of Gibbe's Goodyear blimp. Speaking of the far west side, because I guess if you go west long enough, you will hit it. Did you see, Beau, that we have
No.
a songwriter interested?
Oh, I'm very excited by this. Did I see it? I believe I tweeted Gibby and said, "Oh, Gibby."
As did I. Jade McRae, who is from Sydney, New South Wales,
Yeah.
is a singer, songwriter. She's got stuff on Spotify, by the way. You can check it out. The Real Jade Mac is her Twitter handle, and she says that she has got stuff that she wants to share with us. And she says, and I quote, "Hey guys, Australian, New Zealand musician, recording artist, and huge." She even took the H off the huge, Beau. Fan of the
She did
World's
huge?
team here. Firm devotee of CBD. I've made some music content. I would love to donate to the show. How do I get in touch? And you said, Gibbe, get on this. She says, Gibbe, let's go. I mean, she's on it. Gibbe,
on
hit me with the
brand.
DMs and an email address. Yow! Let's go.
Unbelievable.
Come on. I can't
I
wait to
have
hear
a-
it. I've listened to her stuff. It's good. She's got a kind of a Diana Ross, Nora Jones vibe.
You hit it. You said a little. It's got a little Motown.
Little
to it.
Motown. Oh, yeah. Good.
This is
I
very
can't
exciting.
wait. It's very exciting.
In my mind's eye, because of the incredible amount of interaction we have with our Australian Browns fans, which are just so fired up. I do feel like, and it's probably incorrect, that if somehow you and I showed up on the beaches of Australia, that we would just be viewed as conquering heroes.
I want to go
Like
there.
if
That is
somehow,
number one on my
I
bucket
feel like
list.
we should go.
Yes.
I think we should go. They have so many people over there who love the Browns, who love this program. They're such strong supporters.
My boy Dabo's
I
over
just
there.
feel like they would just be like,
Come.
welcome.
Come. Brisbane, Melbourne,
family.
Sydney. We have people they want all
Perth.
over. Perth, of course.
Just let me pound
Feel like I'd
Foster's
drive
all
in
day,
Perth.
baby.
Yes.
See?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be great? I feel like we'd thrive there.
I know it would.
Yeah, I think they'd really enjoy our time.
By the way, I did text you guys a couple pictures. Have you seen Oregon's new uniforms? Total right turn from what we were just talking about, but
Yeah, you
they
really
just
did.
dropped them for the weekend.
Ooh, I like them.
They're back to that.
I like them.
They're pretty.
They
nice.
look like Xbox uniforms. Like I
Okay.
imagine if Xbox
So-
sponsored a football team, that's what their
Are
uniforms
those supposed to
would
be
look
little
like.
feather? Is that like the sky? Is that what they went with there? Like a night sky?
It's like like a galaxy, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
like a
I'm going
nebula.
to tell you this.
An Oregon nebula.
There you go. I have no problem with them doing this because this is who they are.
Totally.
What I have a problem with is when teams who aren't this do this. Do you? This is who you are.
There's a team in Columbus that does that I don't think should do that.
Ugh. No. Gray camo? No.
No.
No. Black helmets? No. Not. All right. Are you a sports fan looking for a part-time weekend job? Get into the action at First Energy Stadium. It's the home of your Cleveland Browns. Wes is now hiring for part-time event staff and security. You can apply online at weshiring.com. Coming up next, your defensive coordinator, Joe Woods, at the podium. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop here for my friends at Weather Seal Home Services. They're your go-to for literally any home improvement need, and it is November. You know what that means. The snow and the ice and the wind and the rain, it's all moving in. Don't get stuck in the cold with that leaky roof. Let the team at Weather Seal help with their great roof offer. It's $1 down. It's 7 years, 0% financing. You get that new roof your home needs and have a peace of mind this winter that only Weather Seal can provide. Don't delay. Call Weather Seal today, 877-351-SEAL, or visit weathersealhomeservices.com. The sale ends at the end of this month on November 30th. It's with approved credit, and prior sales are excluded. Time to go to the podium and defensive coordinator Joe Woods.
What challenges does Carson win
Both down.
for your defense, especially with the defensive backs?
Yeah. Oh, he's a lot of challenges. I think he has full command of their offense. He does a lot of, audibles and checks at the line of scrimmage. And if you do it all right and then he scrambles, he's a big man. And you see that all over the tape. He keeps plays alive for those guys. I mean, he is a big, critical part of their offense. So we're definitely going to have to be on top of, everything, rush, coverage. And if he does break loose, getting him down.
Does the film you've seen show his inconsistency this year, and what can you do to capitalize on that?
Yeah, when I watch it, I just feel like he's trying to do as much as he can for the team in order for those guys to make plays. At times, whether it's rush or whether they're covering their receivers well, at times he may probably have some throws that he wants back. I think that's where the inconsistencies come. But really, when you watch him, he's just really trying to make plays for his team.
Seems like some of his problems have been related to injuries for the Eagles this season, but they're getting guys back healthy. Miles Sanders, Zach Ertz might play this weekend, and then there's been the emergence of Travis Fulgham. Can you just talk about how some of those guys, having an opportunity to contribute more will impact this game?
Yeah, that was something we talked about early in the week. They're a team that's, they fought through injuries, and they're getting a lot of their guys back, and a lot of their guys back this week. To what level, to what extent, we don't know that right now. But when you surround a quarterback of his caliber with more weapons, it's definitely makes it a tougher situation for us defensively. So we're prepared for it. We understand it may happen, and again, we're going to have to play at our best to have a chance.
Hey, Coach, what have you seen on film from Miles Sanders, the running back there? I know he missed some time there, but he came back last week. But just, what have you seen from him? What danger does he pose?
A lot of danger. Growing up, you always had a couple kids in the neighborhood that could just juke you. And, it was hard to get him down. So when I look at him, man, he's a daylight runner. When he sees daylight, he's running from opposite color jersey. He's very slippery, very quick. You have to be very disciplined in your gaps. As soon as you think he's going to, stick it inside, he bounces outside and challenges your leverage. So I think he's doing a great job. And I believe he's fourth or something in yards per carry in the NFL.
Does the fact that, I know you're very limited in what you do in practice going against the offense, but the fact that you've got two guys similar in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, can they help you prepare for a guy like that?
Yeah, based on the talent we have at running back with all our guys, just getting an opportunity to see them throughout the week in practice when we do go against, good on good against our ones, that definitely helps. But that guy, he's a little different too, so we'll have to be ready.
Yeah, Coach. The defense seemed to be, obviously improved last week. Was it having the bye week to rest? Was it, better tackling? All of the above. Just wonder what you thought the factors were there.
Well, we'd like to feel that, based on our South Scout, some of the adjustments we made, some of the changes helped us play better. We were far from perfect, but overall, I felt like we were more consistent in terms of what we were doing. We've played a couple games where, the weather has been a factor. So I think all those things, the South Scout, the guys getting better, the conditions all helped us, to play a good game last week.
And one more quick thing, with you being in these intensive protocols the rest of the season, I mean, do you have some guys when you're on Zoom who you look forward to lightening up the mood? Is there, somebody that, it seems like your only way to bond.
Yeah, I think we've been doing it for so long. We started in the off season. It feels normal to us. So I try to make sure I keep it light with the guys, and all the coaches do a great job with their presentations, making it lively. Just really trying to grab the guys' attention. So from that standpoint, I feel like we've been doing a good job.
Coach, with Ronnie Harrison, what is it about him that you like to put him down at the line of scrimmage? And it seemed like he blitzed more last week than maybe he had.
Yeah, it was just part of the plan. Week to week, you do different things in your game plan, and this part of our game plan last week involved just a lot more pressure, just because of the danger of the quarterback running. So Deshaun Watson. So, but with Ronnie, he's a big athletic player. He loves the game, so we just felt real confident putting him in those positions.
Is that one that he came close to getting, Deshaun? I mean, is there anything he could have done different there?
Not really. Deshaun's, tremendous athlete. And we had a couple shots. Not only him, there's a couple other players. We had him, dead to rights, and he found a way to wiggle out of it. But that just is a testament to, his ability level and how well he's playing this year.
Hey, Joe, I wanted to get a defensive perspective on this weird question. You've been through two really inclement weather games, and you're also very much aware of how powerful your own team's running game is. Do you think it's feasible in this day and age for an NFL team to win a game without throwing a pass?
I don't know. Obviously, I don't know. It has been done. I'm sure there's some teams where you look where they threw the ball 8 times, 9 times, so it's very close. I just think it depends on the effectiveness of what you're doing. But to go a whole game and just run it every time, I don't know if you can get away with that one.
It'd be tough for a coach to even try that, wouldn't it, in this day and age?
I would assume so, because I think at some point you just put everybody on the line of scrimmage and say you're not going to run. And we've been in situations where we tried to do that as well.
Hey, Coach, I know you said kind of doing everything virtually is the new normal here, but just from your perspective, from a coaching standpoint, what do you lose when you can't have everybody together in a room, every day and kind of working together on stuff?
I think you miss some of the camaraderie, the communication, just the fellas hanging out together, see them in the eyes, getting a little joke here or there. You miss those little things. But I feel like when you're on Zoom, I feel like the details of what we have to present to the players defensively, you have to put a lot more time into it. It has to be cleaner. So I think the preparation standpoint from the coaches to the players has to be more detailed. And I feel like the players, in order to get the information, that they have to be more detailed and more wired in. So I feel like it's helped our learning process, just in terms of learning the new scheme we put in. And I feel like from the off season to this point, I feel like the guys have done a great job.
Is there a little more individual burden on the players just to, watch film at home or something like that?
Yeah, it's a trust factor. And, we talk about that, beginning of the week. It's really up to them to be a professional. That's their job. Their job is football. So they have to have a plan, starting Monday the whole way up until game time in terms of their preparation at home. And so far, I feel like the guys have done a good job.
Hey, Coach, along those lines, what's it been like with Myles Garrett this week, having, your
1 minute
defensive end, away during preparation? What have you guys been able to do with him?
Yeah, you just, obviously we have to follow the protocols and the hope that everything will, work out. We'll find that out. But in terms of him not being there, you always have to move forward. We've had multiple players that weren't available for us on given weeks, and you have to continue on with the game plan. There may be some things
30
that you hold, or some things that maybe you have another guy practice that may be specific for him, but you have to keep moving forward with your game plan.
Has he been in all your meetings, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, virtually you can still. I guess that's one of the
standby
virtual meetings. Because you have the ability to still have virtual meetings with any of the players in situations like that. So that's been a positive for us, and we'll see what happens.
You're up.
All right, there's your defensive coordinator, Joe Woods. We will hit the matchup next. Our defense, their offense. Before we do that, though, if your game plan for this season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by our great friends at Snappy, the official tea and juice drink of the Cleveland Browns on game day. Make sure you head to your nearest Discount Drug Mart location before kickoff to load up with your favorite Snapple flavors. And Z has some news out of Philly.
Yes, the Eagles have just tweeted out that the Philadelphia Eagles received confirmation this morning that a player tested positive for COVID-19. The individual and close contacts who are identified through contact tracing are in self-isolation. We are following NFL, NFLPA intensive protocols and remain in communication with the league on this matter. Diving into it, sources tell me and Adam Kaplan, this is from Jeff Mosier, sources tell me and Adam Kaplan that the Eagles are placing wide receivers J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, John Hightower, and Deontay Burnett on the reserve COVID-19 list. According per Mosher, again, Whiteside tested positive and the others were identified as close contacts. So official statement there, and that's what we know thus far from Philadelphia.
Well, there you go. And as we know, guys, and this has affected us this week. It's going to affect us more and more as we go forward. And the big thing is to be able to, and this is something the NFL's done a pretty dang good job of, is to, when you have those positive tests, to isolate quickly and to shut it down at just a couple of guys here and there. And so that's the hope there. Go ahead, Gibbon.
It's almost, you don't want anybody to get it. Like, whether it's your opponent or what, you don't want anybody to come down with this or get this. But if
Right.
it happens, you almost are, if it happens early in the week with the contact tracing or the isolation, as opposed to on a Thursday when you have to travel, I don't know if these guys would qualify to make this trek.
No, and they are
No,
not.
it's a good point.
It is a good point. They are not guys who have played a big role for this team. John Hightower, 9 catches, 166 yards on the season. Burnett, 3 for 19. Arcega-Whiteside, 2 for 45. None of the three have scored a touchdown. Their top receivers are Travis Fulgham, Greg Ward, Jalen Reagor, who is back, the number 1 pick, and then they hope to get Alshon Jeffrey back this week as well.
All right, so let's hit the matchup. Our defense versus their offense. And it's hard to know what adjustments were made other than the obvious. And if you were watching the game, you saw that Denzel Ward played on both sides of the field. But in terms of the big adjustments that were made in the bye week, you really weren't able to see them because of the weather. And that's just the reality, that Houston was not able to do what they wanted to do. And so we'll see what happens this week, provided there is no win, because, again, this team is not in the same vicinity as Houston from a dangerous standpoint, and Carson Wentz will absolutely throw it right to you and make some very boneheaded plays. This ought to be a game where our defense feasts.
Yeah, our defense should feast. Here's where the Eagles stack up this season. 27th in total offense, 24th in scoring offense, the number 10 rushing offense, and part of that I'll get into in a second, has to do with Carson Wentz. 27th passing offense. They're 24th on third downs. They give up the most sacks in the league. They commit the third most turnovers in the league. Wentz leads the NFL with 12 interceptions. They are good in the red zone, though. The 11th ranked red zone offense. Not a lot of big plays. 26th in big plays per game. 28th in yards per play. So they have not been a good offense this year. Wentz completing a career low 58% of his passes, 2,091 yards, 6.1 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns, 12 picks. But he has been dangerous with his legs, and the Browns will have to account for him. 206 yards rushing, 5 rushing touchdowns on the season. So that's been a part of why they've been so successful in the red zone. Their passing game, Travis Fulgham, the undrafted free agent, has been their leading receiver, 30 catches, 443 yards, 4 touchdowns, 14.8 a catch on the season. They've got good tight ends. Zach Ertz could be back this week, but he struggled this year. Only 178 yards, 7.4 a catch in 6 games. Dallas Goedert has been disappointing. He's been injured as well. 18 for 186 and a touchdown in 5 games. Richard Rodgers actually leads their tight ends with 19 catches and 244 yards. They give up the most sacks in the league, as I said. That is not the issue of Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson has been absolutely spectacular. Their right tackle this year, he has the highest pass block efficiency in the NFL, 99.1%. But the rest of their line, that's where they have struggled, and boy, have they struggled mightily, and they have. It has not been a good pass blocking line at all. They have struggled all over the line. A lot of different injuries. You go through, they have a cool thing here in their media guide, which, by the way, is one of the best I've seen so far. But they haven't started the same offensive line 2 weeks in a row since week 1. Actually, I don't think at any point this season have they started the same offensive line 2 weeks in a row. They have not. That has been a problem for them. Obviously, you would expect that. And as I mentioned, last week, for example, Peters, Opeta, Kelsey, Pryor, and Johnson were the starters. The week before, it was Peters, Herbig, Kelsey, Pryor, and Maliata. They've started 3 different guys at right tackle. They've started 3 different guys at right guard. Kelsey, the center, he's been the only consistent all season. They've started 3 different people at left guard, and they've started 2 different people at left tackle. So if you're the Browns, what does this mean? We have got to get after these guys, and you're not going to get after Lane Johnson. We know that he's allowed 3 pressures on the entire season. Nate Herbig, if he is out there this week, you're going to go ahead and you are going to get after him. You've got to just try your best to get after this quarterback and disrupt what's happening with Carson Wentz. He will hold the ball. You want to play tight coverage on the outside. Why? You want him to hold the ball. Carson Wentz this year has been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league when having to hold the football. And I think this is something, it's fascinating. On extended dropback, so that's more than 4 seconds, 31% completion, 3.7 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 4 picks, and a passer rating of 11.7. That's his rating. 11.7. Now, doesn't sound good. What is good? Miles Sanders, Boston Scott. Sanders on the season, 86 carries, 519 yards, 6 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns. Boston Scott's averaging 5 yards a carry on the season. They both can catch it. Sanders is dangerous. 3 runs of more than 40 yards this year. That leads the NFL, tied with Danny Dimes, by the way, in that category. He has done something that hasn't been done in 10 years, and that is rush for 80 or more yards 3 straight games with 15 or fewer carries in all of those games. That hasn't happened since Brandon Jacobs in 2010. By the way, no running back since 1950 has done that in 4 straight games. But he is so good. He is explosive, and he's somebody that I think we are going to have to really deal with. Now, the Eagles, for whatever reason, throw it 64% of the time, 3rd highest in the NFL. They run it 36% of the time, 3rd lowest in the NFL. We've got to stop Sanders.
A lot of games.
They get down by double digits in a lot of games. They have to abandon the run.
Yeah.
They don't throw the football effectively. This is a game that could follow our ideal script. That's what's happened to this Eagles team all year. They have fallen behind early. They have struggled to come back, and then you can take advantage of Wentz. 35 sacks they've allowed, most in the NFL. 12 interceptions from Wentz, most in the NFL. He's fumbled the ball a bunch. The Browns need to take the lead in this one, take the game away from Miles Sanders, and then just go and get Carson Wentz.
I was never a Wentz guy in the lead up to the draft.
Me neither.
I'm never a big fan of the. Just from the way he plays the position. But I also think that, and Sal Powell was on with us yesterday and crushed him. But it's hard to judge him based on the incredible amount of injury and rotating faces that they've had on the offensive line, at receiver, through the last couple of years. You couple that with his injuries, and you do have to wonder if some bad habits have reared their ugly heads. And now the worst of him is being exposed week in and week out. So much of a young quarterback is the circumstance they're put in. He was put in a dream circumstance that year they won the Super Bowl as a rookie when he was, 11-1 or whatever, 11-2 when he went out.
Playing great.
And
yeah, the game against the Rams.
Playing great. Yeah, they had an awesome team. They were playing great. And then ever since then, it's been injuries and then injury to their roster. And you just wonder if some of the things that were like small things have become big things for him. And not our problem, thankfully. But it's the guy that you see coming in here on Sunday is very, very different than the guy the last time he came in here was his rookie year, correct?
No, it wasn't here. It was the last time we played.
It was in Philly.
It was in Philly. It was his debut. It was his debut, and it was the debut of Doug Peterson as their head coach.
Yeah, so very different player now, which is weird because first start to all of these starts later, but some bad habits have become a part of his repertoire. Our quarterback, you will hear from him coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Brilliant Electric Sign Company, Northeast Ohio's largest full-service sign company, serving their clients for over 91 years. Contact the experts at Brilliant Electric Sign to provide you a state-of-the-art signage solution that's going to grow your business. Visit them at brilliantsign.com. Baker Mayfield available to the media yesterday. Fun press conference for him. Here's your quarterback at the podium.
It looks like there's rain in the forecast for both Sunday. Again, we'll see what happens. But what is it like for you playing in these kind of weather games? When it's that brutal outside, you have to change your mentality at all. Is there any part of you that enjoys playing in those kind of conditions? And then, your thoughts on the potential of like another kind of horrible weather day?
I don't know if the forecast has as much wind as the past two, but I enjoy seeing how everybody handles it. Everybody has to deal with the same conditions, so if you can adapt and handle it the best way possible, then great. And so that's my mentality going into it, week in and week out. It's just take care of the ball. The teams that make the least amount of mistakes in those types of games can control the ball, and just kind of stay as efficient as possible. It's a big field position game. When you have games that weather affects it that much, one first down when you're backed up to maybe change the field position when you punt the ball, just to really kind of control that and play chess and not checkers.
Hey, Baker, you mentioned the Eagles pass rush real quickly. What stands out about it, specifically Brandon Graham? What makes him so good?
He's a very experienced player. I just think he's extremely smart. His talent, physical talent, he can kind of do it all. He's very quick, but he recognizes plays and schemes quickly. And I think you mix that with physical talent. It's a pretty great combo. And then obviously Fletcher's play speaks for itself. He kind of gave me my welcome to the NFL moment, rookie year in a preseason game. Tossed me like a rag doll. So I'm familiar with Fletcher.
You've talked a lot about the 1-2 punch at running back. When you're out there, do you see it wearing down the defenses? Like, do you notice kind of the defense is just getting beat up by it?
Yeah, no, you can definitely tell later in the games. Obviously, those guys breaking more and more tackles. Just the effort on defensive guys. You can tell the way they approach those guys, whether they're coming in with the same intensity or they're diving early and not wrapping up. So they wear on those guys in our O-line. They feed off that. They see those guys breaking tackles. They continue to push the pile. So it's not only just our backs, but everybody as a whole blocking for them.
Did you get a good view of Nick's long run and how he was able to turn the corner when it looked like the Texans had it read?
Yeah, I was getting a little nervous when it got strung out that long. Just being on the other side of the field when he cut it loose, that was something pretty cool to watch. He's moving. I didn't think he was going to step out of bounds, but he did.
Hey, Baker, your rookie year, you got a little taste of a playoff race, if you will. You guys were mathematically alive. You went to Denver, got that big win. As you look at this season, I know you play them one at a time, but you're 6-3. There's a bunch of other 6-3 teams, and just every game right now means so much going down the stretch. So can you draw off that experience your rookie year? And if so, what do you take away from that?
I'd say it's just very different, to be quite frank. We're very cognizant of the big picture. Rookie year, we knew we had to win every single game just to have a chance. And right now, we're just trying to treat it the same way. So I guess that's the only similarity. But we have a big picture mindset, but a singular game focus. So that's how we're going to handle it.
I was going to ask you something similar, so to kind of follow up on that. Are you succeeding in blocking out the playoff picture when all these teams are 6-3? Everybody in Cleveland is so excited, obviously, because the team hasn't been in the playoffs since 2002. Are you able to shut it out at this point with everything getting so tight?
Yeah, no, we know that this is a tough league to play in, so we got to handle it one game at a time. And no team's going to be in the playoffs right now, no matter the record, no matter what's going on. Anything can happen any week at a time, so we have to handle it as such.
Going back to what Scott asked you about the running game, there was a time when Oklahoma quarterbacks had to be able to run it better than they could throw it. But in terms of what you guys can do now with the Browns, does that fire you up, Baker, when you see Kareem and Nick doing what they're doing and the line opening holes and just the chains moving? I know you want to throw the ball, but is the running game
1 minute?
Well,
100%. It's whatever it takes to win. The stats I could care less about. The one stat that I care about is wins and losses. So, and our running game is something special when we get it going, and we have to continue to improve that. And we got back on track a little bit on Sunday, and we need to continue that and continue to improve as this year goes on, because it's such a vital part about our offense, but also our team. You talk about controlling the clock, momentum of the game, being able to put teams away
30
by 3 points late in the game, having a 4-minute drive, taking time off the clock so our defense can get rested, and then our pass rush can go after these guys and put pressure on them. So it's fun to watch offensively just because it opens up things in our pass game, but it's a huge part about our team.
Baker, College Game Day is going to Norman this.
Stand by.
Thoughts on the Bedlam game?
Jake, what are you trying to stir up right now?
Just seeing if you're going to say anything.
The little brother always needs to be put in his place, Jake. You know that.
You're up.
Oh, that's so great. It's so great. It's why, I mean, he is so popular in Oklahoma, so popular in that Sooner Nation. He's as beloved as anyone to ever put on that uniform. And he did that stuff and played that way when he was there, just a gunslinger mentality, and backed it up most of the time to one of the greatest careers in the history of college football. That's fun. Yeah, Bedlam this weekend, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Our matchup, our offense that Baker Mayfield will pilot against this Eagles defense. If you've enjoyed what you saw last week, you're probably going to see more of that this week against this Philly defense. We'll get into Dr. Z's breakdown of that on the matchup coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Snapple on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste and Recycling, family-owned and operated since 1932. They've been in business 87 years, keeping neighborhoods clean and green. Their customers, employees, and communities are all part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. All right, Doctor, time to bring you back in for the matchup, my friend. Our offense versus their defense. This Philly team, as we talked about earlier, has had to chase a lot. Their defense can be had, and I would think that we would have an ability to do just that with how we go about our business.
Yeah, it's a good matchup, but it's a tough matchup. Their defense is better than you would think given their record. 11th in total defense, 16 in scoring defense, 26th in rushing defense, but that's misleading. They give up the most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks and wide receivers, but they've been tough on running backs. 3.3 yards per carry, 77 yards per game to running backs. They are the number 6 pass defense in the NFL because they can get after the quarterback. They have the second most sacks in the NFL. They've got 31 on the season, tied for second in terms of sacks per game. That is, Brandon Graham leads the way with 7. Fletcher Cox up front. This is this team is better than its record. Much better than its record. You've got, like I said, 7 from Graham, 4.5 from Barnett. Vinny Curry's got 2 in 5 games. Cox has 3.5. This is a talented group, and on the back end, they've been pretty solid as well. The huge addition of Darius Slay, I think, has been massive for this team. Jalen Mills playing well. The guy you want to attack, though, is the nickel, and his name is literally Nickel Roby Coleman. That's who you go after. But this has been a pretty good defense. Now, they're bad in the red zone, 24th in the red zone. They don't generate a lot of takeaways. They're tied for 29th in turnover differential. But they're good, 6th in yards per play allowed. So it comes from the front. It's Jim Schwartz. It's that wide 9. Like I said, they get after the quarterback. But they have allowed 14 rushing touchdowns this season, which is tied for 3rd most in the NFL, and it's one more than they allowed in all of 2019 when they allowed just 13. Here's an interesting thing for our offense. With Nick Chubb, we have 9 rushing touchdowns in 5 games. Without Nick Chubb, no rushing touchdowns in 4 games. Obviously, we've got Nick Chubb for this one. And Chubb and Hunt are the only duo in the NFL that are averaging more than 70 yards rushing per game this season. Chubb, 92.2, Hunt, 70.3. No team, by the way, has had 2 players average 70 yards rushing per game in the same season since 2009. The Panthers, D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart, and the Dolphins, the year they ran the Wildcat with Ronnie Brown and Ricky Williams. So it's been a while. The Browns are doing something historic, but I think this is a tougher matchup. So as I said, where do you want to attack this team? Who are the weak links? Up front, they're good. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. You've got Derek Barnett, the first rounder. You've also got Malik Jackson, and you've got now they bring back Vinny Curry, who for a while many thought was maybe going to be a Cleveland Brown. There were some rumors floating around about that. He stays there. So they're good up front. Their linebackers, not as good. You can attack this team's linebackers, and I think that's where the Browns are going to have to look to get some of their more favorable matchups in this one. Duke Riley has struggled this year. And as I mentioned, their corners, Slay, Mills is the one you want to target more so than Darius Slay this year, although Slay hasn't had a great year, 104 quarterback rating allowed when targeted. You want to go after the slot. I mentioned it at the beginning. Nickel Roby Coleman. Why do I want to go after Nickel Roby Coleman? Well, he's given up 80% completions, a quarterback rating of 120 when targeted. And I mentioned the linebackers. Nathan Jerry plays the most snaps for them. How about these numbers in coverage? 28 catches on 31 targets, 90% completion, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, quarterback rating allowed 146.4. So if you're the Browns and Jerry plays a lot, that is who you want to try to get matched up. Now, he's on IR. He could be back this week, but they've struggled, these linebackers. Duke Riley, Alex Singleton, those are the 2 that have stepped in with him down, and it hasn't been much better. Riley, 120 quarterback rating when targeted. Singleton has struggled also. So attack the linebackers. The front is the toughest part, but we have that great offensive line to match up with them. The front is tough. Good safeties, good corners. It's the linebackers in coverage, and it's the nickel in coverage that the Browns can attack.
Okay, so let's discuss how we're going to go about that. And the one thing that we thought would be a huge part of our offense, and provided the wind is minimal on Sunday, is the tight ends. That was something, if you went into this season, you thought our tight ends would be a huge part of our passing game. It has not happened. They have not been. That's just not been which is shocking to me, really, in retrospect. The last 2 weeks, it's hard because of how much the wind is blown. But I remember going into this season thinking Austin Hooper's a nice fantasy target. Like, I thought he would be in the 5, 6 catches a day or a week game situation. And that hasn't happened. So when you're talking about linebackers, I'm thinking it's not like Austin Hooper, David Njoku, Harrison Bryant. I mean, the talent is there. So that would seem to maybe, if the wind isn't a problem, maybe that gets unlocked a little bit this week because it hasn't yet this year, which is surprising to me.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I think you look at the matchups that I mentioned. Alex Singleton, he's given up, in terms of coverage, 90% completions. The other linebacker with Jerry out this week for them is likely to be Duke Riley, TJ Edwards. Those are the other two. Edwards hasn't played much in coverage. He's a 2-down. He's a run guy. But you can get after Riley, 80% completions, quarterback rating 121 targeted. You've got to find a way in these play actions to isolate them. Then I think it's a good matchup for you. Jarvis Landry in the slot against Nickel Roby-Coleman. I'm using Kaderil Hodge. I'm running Darius Slay out of the picture. I don't think they're going to move Slay inside.
Yep.
So that's what I'm trying to do there is get him, take Slay out of the game and try to highlight, as you mentioned, those guys. And so how do you stress them? You stress them with the play action and the ground game. But you've got to be sound up front because this wide nine, Kevin Stefanski, we'll talk to him tonight on the Kevin Stefanski show. They crash in from the edges. And boy, Brandon Graham's a good player. I mean, he's a very tough player. Fletcher Cox is a good player. Barnett's a good player. They got big guys in the middle. So that's why they've been tough. Misdirection. We heard Dave Spadaro talk about it. That's one of the staples of this offense. This might be a game, by the way, where we see that jet sweep. They've struggled with running backs. So I think we'll see a lot of jet motion. Maybe we'll hand it off a few times, run off of that. Then sometimes you can play action. Those linebackers could be frozen, and boom, right over the middle, Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant, David Njoku. This has to be a big game, I think, for our tight ends.
Who would we use in that jet motion?
Donovan Peoples-Jones. You could use Jarvis in it. You can use Kaderil Hodge in it.
I mean, Odell is that's
of course
obviously.
I think Donovan Peoples-Jones would be a good candidate in that.
Yeah, he's good running in space, and he's
Right.
good running in traffic. So I mean, I think that would seem to add up a little bit. It's one of those things that we thought would be addressed. We were curious how it was going to be addressed without Odell. You weren't able to see it last week. I don't even know if you'll see it this week. But obviously, this matchup is one that would elicit somebody to have to step into that role that was previously occupied by Odell. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. I am also surprised that I think at the rest of this way of this season in the passing game, Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, these are Pro Bowl players. We need to find ways for their production. They have to play big roles for us, and not just in the blocking game for Hooper. Like for us, there are all these teams at 6-3. We've got to unlock that part of our game. And we haven't. It's hard to judge because of how bad the weather's been. But these are Pro Bowl players.
Yeah, I think Austin Hooper in particular has just got to become a bigger part of your offense. He's averaging 5 targets a game. He's averaging over 3 catches a game, and about 30. He's only averaging 30 yards. You need, and it's not his fault. He's not getting many opportunities.
You remember Camp?
Camp, he was everywhere.
He's going to catch 7 balls a game.
Well, that's what he did in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And that's what you expected,
Right.
and I think he expected a little bit more of that. You're going to need him over these final 7 games. And I think if the weather is good, this one, again, figuring that out this week and next week down in Jacksonville where you should have good weather are going to be very important. We've got to get this passing game in order before that Tennessee-Baltimore stretch. We're going to have to be able to throw the ball in those games. So I think it's critically important that we welcome back the middle of the field, and we do it with our tight ends, Bryant, Hooper, the Chief. Those guys need to play a big role, and I'm going to circle Austin Hooper. I think it's let your Pro Bowl player be a Pro Bowler. And we've got to figure out a way to get him the ball. Jarvis leads your team in receptions and receiving yards. He hasn't scored a receiving touchdown yet. Hig has been tremendous. 225 yards on 19 targets. That's absurd. But we're going to need more.
Well, Donovan Peoples-Jones has been pretty good on targets as well.
6 targets, 72 catches, and a touchdown. I want to see him play more.
Yeah.
I like the way he catches the
too.
football if it's near him. I think he gives you a little bit more.
The physicality, his size, only he has it. And he's good at contested catches. He just is. He can go and he can make catches. He's sure-handed. And to be fair, they could have planned for everything we're talking about, but last week was a disaster weather-wise.
Right.
So it's hard to know what it was going to look like. And it may be a disaster weather-wise this week as well, and so you just go back to winning the game and grinding it out. But there will come a time, and it's probably going to be down in Nashville against Tennessee. There'll come a time with Baltimore here where you're going to have to be able to throw the ball, throw it in the seams, throw it down the middle, get those tight ends involved, and it's something I look forward to seeing how we unlock those things going forward. Go ahead.
The other thing, I think maybe this is a week to see a little bit more of some in the screen game, because you want to slow down their pass